guardianship work I do because I have a 24-year-old as of yesterday, special needs daughter. But that means that folks that are either turning 18 and needing guardianship or are slowly failing for either accidents or age, I'm able to step in. The hope is, and the goal is, to not have to go through the courts to have anybody grab control. And we do that by appropriately estate planning. Estate planning is just the beginning. I say that because even when I finish drafting your documents, you will have actions to take. I can draft the prettiest documents that you've ever seen, and then you still have to put stuff into the trust. And if you don't do that, I'm gonna repetitively say fund your trusts. That means move assets into the trust. I've got too many clients, not many of mine, but because I repeat this as many times as humanly possible, but I've seen it too many times where somebody comes to me and says, I have this trust, or my parents had this trust, and they didn't put anything into it, so I get to avoid probate. And I go, nope, let's do probate. So, all right. First couple of documents, and I usually talk about 4 documents when we talk about estate planning. The first 2 are right here: financial power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney. Powers of attorney give somebody agency to make decisions for you during your lifetime, okay? Financial power of attorney can be durable or springing, meaning they have, your agent has authority today, or only if you become incapacitated. Most people who have the ability to make their own decisions don't want anybody making decisions for them until they can't. But let's be clear, once you can't, you cannot sign one of these documents. And so we have to put these in place, otherwise, we could go back to my guardianship conversation, which is of course the goal to avoid. Guardianship basically gives you the opportunity to have the government and the courts in your space for the rest of your life. So financial power of attorney, you give somebody access to make personal financial decisions over your individual finances. That's income streams, your bank accounts in your name, those types of things. Healthcare power of attorney. If you can no longer make your own healthcare decisions for whatever reason, I always harken back to COVID when people were intubated, you could not vocalize what you wanted. Somebody has to make those healthcare decisions for you. This allows you to appoint an agent to do that. Typically, for all of these documents, we appoint a number of people in a series. First person, second person, third person. First person can't act. Who would you want to have act instead? Many people who are married name their spouses. After that, they're going to name people that they trust. Financial power of attorney, sometimes they name somebody who has a particular financial bent in their family, or the person they believe will do the job well. Healthcare, again, if you have anybody who has a healthcare bent that you would turn to, great. Otherwise, again, the trusted family members. The one thing to remember about those powers of attorney is once you pass, they expire. A power of attorney is no good after somebody dies. They can't make any decisions, you can't make any decisions for them. I appreciate the giggle. All right, next 2 documents are wills and trusts. So usually, I have to dispel a myth. Very often, people believe that if they have a will, they can avoid probate. Wills go through probate. Cannot tell you that enough. Wills always go through probate. That's just the nature of a will. If you die without a will, there are laws in each state, depending on where you're the resident of. Nevada has its own set of intestacy laws, which will determine where your stuff goes. Typically it goes spouse, children, parents, siblings, in some order depending on who's alive and who's around. So if the intestacy laws aren't exactly the way you would want it to work, a will overrides that, okay? However, most of my clients want to avoid probate. Probate's gonna take at least 12 to 18 months in a perfect scenario, is usually going to cost at least 3% of your assets to get through that process. And that's on a good day. And so many people tell me that that's not their goal. They don't want to make people wait that long to get out of probate, to have access to those funds or assets. They don't want to spend that kind of money or pass that cost on to their heirs. In those circumstances, we're going to be talking about revocable trusts, and we change the wills to something called a pour-over will. The pour-over will simply says, if I forgot to put something in my trust, put it in my trust. Still requires a probate, but it's an abbreviated process, and it's a simpler process. But fund your trust, and you don't have to worry about the pour-over. Revocable trusts. Revocable trusts, I don't know how many people are familiar with these. In a trust, there are 3 hats that you wear. Those hats are trustor, who puts their stuff into the trust, trustee, who manages the trust, beneficiary, for whose benefit is that stuff in there. Revocable trust, you wear all 3 hats. It's your stuff that you're managing for you. If that sounds like your stuff today, outside of a trust, it should. You still have full access. You're not giving it up. You have control over those things. You can buy and sell just like you did before. You can change out assets. You can sell a home, buy a home. Continue to have investment accounts. Mark can change the title on those. From your name to your trust's name if they are non-qualified investments. So some of the benefits of revocable trusts: privacy. You can, name it anything you want, and so it's a little bit harder to find, but it's not going to stop somebody if they're looking for your assets. Probate avoidance is the biggest one. Things in the trust do not have to go through probate. That doesn't stop somebody from suing if they think they need to, but at least we don't have to start there. And immediate access. So if you become incapacitated or if you pass, the successor trustee, the next person in line, can immediately step in and start managing those assets appropriately for you if you're alive, marshaling those assets for distribution for the heirs after the trustors have passed. Revocable trusts, not for asset protection. Some people tell me that they're going to set up a trust and then they're safe from anybody suing them and they're going to do horrible things. It's not the case. Again, you wear all 3 hats: trustor, trustee, beneficiary, which means that it's your stuff that you have control over for your benefit. If you have a debt and somebody wants to get their money back, it's your money that you have control over for your benefit. They can go after the assets in the trust just as easily as if it was in your name. There are different asset protection strategies. If we need to, we can talk about those. Irrevocable trusts. There are a number of plans that Mark can work with to protect assets as well. Funding a trust. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that before. I harp on funding a trust more than anything. Once a trust is drafted, you have a piece of paper that says, I have a trust. And if you come to me and you have a piece of property, I'll take that property and put it into the trust. But I can't move your bank accounts. I can't move your investment accounts. I can't move titles of vehicles if appropriate. I can't move anything that has I don't move other assets. That's on you. Okay? I mean, I'm glad to do it. You don't want to pay attorney rates for somebody to move that. If you want to, I'm glad to.
Or your broker or agent.
There you go. Broker or agent, yeah. You don't want, yeah. These are things that you can do. They can be difficult. They can be easy. And you always have help or direction if you need it. Properties, a deed will move a property into the trust. Again, no big deal. Business interests. So if you've got a sole proprietorship, you've got an LLC, you got anything like that that needs to be in the trust, We can move those, any corporate assets, stocks, or however that might look like, that all of those things can be moved into the trust. And some people might ask me, why would I move a business interest into the trust? And my answer is simple. Had this conversation yesterday with you. I have an LLC, it's in my name, and I have a trust. What happens when I pass? I go, well, the LLC's in your name, it's going to probate. Is that what you wanted? And they go, no, I don't want to do that. I go, well, that's not a problem. We'll take the LLC, we move the ownership into the trust, and whoever the successor trustee is, they can continue to manage the business. So succession planning is key. That's how we do that. Transfer accounts. You're going to work with your financial institution to move those accounts. So you can go to your bank and move the account. Some banks will let you just change the title on the account. You have an account that's in your name, Jason Sadow today. Tomorrow I want it to be titled Jason Sadow as trustee of the Jason Sadow Trust. No problem at all. They'll change the ownership of the account. The account number doesn't change. Nothing changes. You can still sign your name to it. No big deal. Some financial institutions prefer to open up a new account. That can be a little bit more painful, and I don't like them. And then I always tell people to homestead your residence. That's not exactly funding a trust, but it is a huge protection. Currently, it's just over $600,000 in equity that can be creditor protected with a homestead. If you have a property and it's not your primary residence and it's not homesteaded, I always tell people to do that. I include that if we do a trust together. And that's equity in the property, not the total value of the home. I talk about guardianships because, I've talked about all the benefits. If I haven't convinced you with the benefits, sometimes I can scare you with the problems. If you don't have powers of attorney, the short answer is, if you become incapacitated, who's going to take control of your assets and manage them for you? Who's going to make those healthcare decisions for you? Now we're talking about a guardianship. Somebody has to apply to the courts to be able to make those decisions. Try to avoid that, because this is not a pleasant experience. It'll cost you more to get the guardianship than it would be probably to set up that trust anyway, but each to their own. There's different types of guardianships in Nevada. You can do a guardianship of the person. That basically allows somebody to make healthcare decisions. Guardianship of the estate, they can manage finances. Person and estate, they can make healthcare decisions and manage the finances. And finally, we can do emergency or temporary guardianships as well for crisis situations. Somebody temporarily loses capacity, is in an accident and is recovering but can't manage their finances for a period of time, is depressed and is non-functional for a period of time, and they need to get back on their feet. Well, I've seen a number of different scenarios there. You can imagine them all, probably. Let me talk about probate, just one guardianship a little bit longer. So once a guardianship is established, if it's a permanent guardianship, the courts are going to require an annual report. So that means that for every year, you have to give them a report of the person, and you have to give them a financial accounting. And that means that somebody's going to have to produce that accounting on an annual basis and make sure that it balances to the penny. If it does not, guardianship compliance gets involved. We do audits. We have to figure out what's going on. We have to figure out if you cannot manage those finances appropriately and give financial reports, the court may remove you as the guardian and maybe appoint like the public guardian or private guardian company to do that going forward at a cost to the estate. I try and tell people to avoid this if possible, and to make sure that if they have to get guardianship over somebody, they also get a good bookkeeper and accountant, because otherwise it can be very painful. The worst experience I had was we had a multi-million-dollar estate. We had $100 we couldn't find. After guardianship compliance office got involved, the accountant had to get involved. The attorneys got involved at a bill of about $10,000 to the estate. We found the $100. It was an accounting error. It was an accrual entry instead of a cash entry, and you know, suddenly it got resolved. So, don't like to do that to anybody if I can. Talk about probate for a minute. Probate, if you have assets that are in your name that don't transfer under a different set of circumstances, so life insurance pays the beneficiary directly. You may have a beneficiary on a bank account that gets paid out directly to the beneficiary. But things that don't go directly to a beneficiary through contract or by law, deed upon death might do that. All the other assets go through probate. If you have less than $25,000 in your name at the time of your death, transferred away your house and your bank accounts by beneficiary designation, and you have less than $25,000, somebody can sign a small estate affidavit and avoid the courts. Otherwise, we get to open up probate. Testate or intestate, gotta get that changed. Sometimes you have court calendar delays. I gotta tell you that after COVID, the new probate commissioner has been phenomenal and brought that time way down. Before it was 6 months to get a hearing, and probates were just lingering forever. But even still, 12 to 18 months is a pretty good estimate. If you have property in more than one state, you have to do probate in every state that there's property. So you have property in 10 states, you get 10 open probates. All fun and games. Just the nature of how that works. Selling property. So if you want to sell the property during probate, you have to ask the court for permission to sell it. Then you have to go back to the court once you have an offer. You may open it up for bids. It may be good for the estate if it gets overbid. And then the money comes back in. So the biggest problem I have is people who are potentially living in a property that needs to be sold during probate. And so I'm living in my spouse just passed, I'm living in the property, house has to get sold. I talk to Jackie gets an offer on the property, the court accepts the offer, house is sold, the probate estate gets the money, and I don't have a place to live. And then we have to petition the court to distribute funds, which I don't have today, while I'm trying to find a new place to live. And it can be very painful and a big struggle until that happens. And that can be months before I get the money, even if and so we try and avoid that if possible. But that's one of the big reasons I don't like to leave properties in probate. If you have a piece of property, you should have a trust. Closing probate. So we petitioned the court one last time to distribute the funds. If there's administrator fees, if there's any reimbursements, we petition for that. And again, at the end of that, we finally get distributions out. Hey, look, that's me. You guys have my card. I believe Mark's coming back up.
My turn.
You bet.
All right. Jason will be back up for questions and answers at the end. So we've taken care of that. Now it's my turn. All right. We don't have to read that whole thing. You know me already. Okay. Making healthcare, retirement, income planning 1, 2, 3 easy is what we do. A lot of you already know about some of that. Anybody already a financial client? No. Yes. No. Okay. All right. So you guys know that we do all the Medicare stuff. We are also full service financial planning, full asset management. Everything is booked through Charles Schwab. That's where we have all of our clients' assets. Between our 3 offices, we have about 800 million assets under management now. All of our clients are 65 and over, unless it's a spouse. So we invest thinking about our clients' age and what they have. We invest to not lose money. We're still making a decent rate of return, but we're investing to not lose. All right, so while you're working, you're in your accumulation phase. That's the red. We're taking some more risks. We're trying to get more return. As you approach and enter retirement, you're in your preservation phase. That's where we're really reducing the risk in what it is that we're doing. And then after you fully transition to retirement, that's your distribution phase. That doesn't mean we're losing money. That means you're using your money to live on. So, different methods. Buy and hold. Buy and hold with no withdrawals. Everybody says, well, how do we know what the return is going to be based on what the interest rates, and what if we have bad years, then good years, or good years, then bad years? Well, if we do 5 bad years, then have 5 good years right after it, and starting with a $10,000 investment at a 5.28% average rate of return, right now, after COVID, we're averaging about 9.5% return from 2006 to today, about 9.5%. Prior to COVID, we're averaging 11.5%, but that 2 years of COVID where everything shut down, that kind of put a monkey wrench in it. But we're still averaging about 9.5%. But under promise, over deliver. So we're going to show 5.28%. And we've got $15,577 over that 10-year period from our $10,000 investment at that rate. If we have 5 good years, then 5 bad years, so flip it, we've got the same $15,577. Again, we're not taking any money out. So whether we have bad years first, then good years, or good years, then bad years, kind of irrelevant. Also, we don't see these numbers in our practice because we're not investing as aggressively enough to do that. And I'll tell you a couple of things that we do to mitigate that risk. So that's taking zero income. If I take this same 5.28%, 5 bad years, and then 5 good years, and 5 good years, then 5 bad years, but now we're going to take money out. We're going to withdraw the 528. That's the interest. We're taking the interest out. So if we have 5 bad years, then 5 good years, we have a total after 10 years of $69.84. Again, remember, we're taking a bunch of money out. That's an average rate of return of 0.75%. But if we start with 5 good years, then have 5 bad years, we've got $10,499. That's an average rate of return of 6.28%. You guys are in your years where you're probably using your income from your investments. So you're here. You're where we're, well, not 5 years and 5 bad years, but you're taking income typically. So it does matter where the good years and the bad years are when you're taking income. So again, what we're trying to do and have been doing for 20, 30 years is just try don't have losses, right? If we have to have some caps on what our returns can be, that's fine with us, as long as they're reasonable caps, because we don't want to lose any money. Our clients have what they have and they can't afford to lose a nickel. Even my multi-millionaire clients still tell me the same thing. I don't want to lose any money, right? Mm-hmm. Purposes of money. So we color code everything. Yellow is your liquid, insured, and available on demand. What would that be? That would be bank accounts, that would be money market accounts, things like that. That's your yellow. Green is protected and insured. What could that be? Protected and insured could be government bonds, it could be annuities, it could be a lot of different things. Bonds, we were doing a lot of bonds when the market called for it. Right now it's kind of up in the air. So we do some bond exchange traded funds, or ETFs if you've ever heard of those, because we want the dividend. Right now we're getting some nice dividends. We've got one, we're getting a 7% dividend. Typically it's flat, it's not growing, but I don't care. I just want the 7% dividend. And then we also have, we're in the market trying to get larger returns. But that wouldn't be the green money. The green money would be bonds, bond funds, and annuities, and CDs, bank CDs. Red is to hedge against inflation. Red is where we're shooting for that 9% return. Red is going to be in the market. Like I said, we do full asset management. I'm not the portfolio manager. I used to be the portfolio manager, but then we decided that it makes more sense, since I'm meeting with you guys all day long. If I'm meeting with you, who's managing your portfolio, right? Most brokers out there say, no, I'm your portfolio manager. Okay, but it's 10 o'clock in the morning, the stock market's open, who's watching it? Okay, caught you, right? So if a broker tells you that they're managing your portfolio and they're meeting with you while the market's open, they're either lying or bad at their job, because somebody's got to be paying attention all day long to that portfolio. So my portfolio managers, they work for us. Again, we clear everything through Charles Schwab. Accounts are all held at Charles Schwab. Portfolio manager is in our Arizona office. We use Nate and Jill Faccarazzo, and you meet with them when you meet with me when we're talking about all this stuff. And they're the ones that are actively managing your portfolio. All right, 1, 2, 3, easy method. We use the best of what you already own. If you come to me to do this kind of stuff, it doesn't mean we're selling everything off that you have. We might be keeping some things. If you want some good stuff, we're not getting rid of it. Add certainties and guarantees, because most folks don't have certainties and guarantees in their portfolio. And match. We match your tools to your needs. There is no one size fits all. Everybody needs something different. So, our meetings. We do 4 meetings. We do a discovery meeting. The discovery meeting is, where are all the bodies buried? Where's your money? What's it in? What are you trying to accomplish? What's your burn rate? How much you spend every month? All that sort of thing. So we collect that data, and you bring me your statements from wherever all the assets are now. Then you come back for meeting number 2, the recommendation meeting. What's happening between 1 and 2? Jody, in my Arizona office, is building your plan book based on how I told her to build it. It's a 3-ring binder, everything is in there, 11 by 17 spreadsheet, and all the backup materials. So she builds it, and then she FedExes it to me, and then, where is she? Suzette calls you to schedule meeting number 2. Meeting number 2 is the recommendation meeting. During meeting number 2, you will meet Nate and Jill Faccarazzo, Nate or Jill. One of them will have their head up on my screen, and they're going to present the red portion and show you how they do, what they do, why they're doing it for you, the way they're doing it for you, and we go back and forth and ask and answer questions. And then you take your book home. Then you come back for meeting number 3. That's the clarity meeting. That's where you ask all the questions you didn't know you had at meeting number 2, because you didn't have a chance to digest the materials yet. So in that meeting, we'll go over any questions that you might have. Some people at the end of the recommendation meeting, as a matter of fact, most people say at the end of the recommendation meeting, do we really have to come back for meeting number 3 if we already know we want to move forward with whatever? No, we can skip meeting number 3 if you want and move to the implementation meeting. So the implementation meeting is where you're going to tell us, I love it, it's fantastic, let's move forward with everything. I like some of it, but not all of it, let's just move forward with the things that I like. Or, I don't like any of it, I don't want to do any of it. Okay, well, if you don't want to do any of it, we're not going to do the implementation meeting, and you owe us nothing. We've done all the work, no hard feelings, no pressure, you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. And then we meet at minimum annually to review and refine the plan, because things change, stuff happens, right? If you'd like to meet more often than annually, you want to meet quarterly, you want to meet semi-annually, whatever you want. We're not charging you for meetings. We're not charging you for any of the build, we're not charging for anything. You say you don't want to do anything, you get no bill from me. So that's how we do what we do. Across the top are all of our advisors. These are clerical folks. These are the investment folks. All right, so our gift to you today, if you want it, I've got them up here. We've done some special reports on things that you need to know about. required minimum distributions, if you're taking required minimum distributions, you're getting close to having to take required minimum distributions from your tax qualified accounts. That would be IRAs, 403Bs, 401Ks, all that kind of stuff. If you have any, that explains how the required or RMDs work. Long-term care special report. A lot of folks ask about long-term care because it's not covered by Medicare, it's not covered by Medicare supplements, it's not covered by Medicare Advantage plans. It's only covered by either long-term care insurance or Medicaid if you qualify for Medicaid. That's welfare. Before death do us part, so that's our largest and newest one. There we go. That's our largest and newest one. This is a roadmap. So if you have a trust, you've got a will, the pour-over wills, you've got all this stuff from the attorney, none of that really says, where's all my stuff, right? Where's the key to your lockbox? Where's the combination to your safe in the wall? Where's your login account numbers for all the stuff you've got login accounts for? Where is everything? So that's what the before death do us part is. It's basically a roadmap to all your stuff, all your everything for your heirs.
And Mark, if I can just
Yeah.
pile onto that one.
Sure.
Till death do us part, it sounds like it's only for married couples. It is for everybody. So it goes through all the trust and will information and your asset designations. Definitely pick one.
Yeah, the before death do us part is not you and your spouse, but it could be, but it's before death do I part this earth and give all my stuff to my kids or whoever it's going to, charities, whatever. So what we're doing, and this is brand new, just starting, it ties into the before death do us part. So coming early 2025, hey Adam, what's our status on this? Are we ready to rock and roll yet?
For the box?
Yeah.
Can't talk about it yet, next month.
Okay.
Can't talk about it yet.
I can tell you what it is though. So that's the box. It is, every file folder is marriage license, military stuff, prescriptions, life insurance, all the stuff that your heirs would need to know. Where is it? What are the policy numbers? I need to know everything about everything you have so I don't pull my hair out like I had to do when my brother passed away. I went over to his house and I asked my sister-in-law, where is everything? Well, there's his office. Go. So, I'm combing through every last piece of paper in there. If he would have had something like that, it would have made my life a lot easier, and his wife's life. So what this is going to be is, I believe, and Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, again, this is brand new. You can buy the box from us. We'll have it all designed, put together, done. Or you can go on the subscription where you get the box, and then every month you come in for a meeting and we coach you through each section.
The
One month
box
at a
is
time.
the subscription. You pay for the box, you get the sessions.
Oh, I thought we were having two different ways to do it. You just buy the box, or you can buy the box
This is
with
why
the
we
coaching.
can't talk about it yet.
Yeah,
It's
we're
still-
building it, we're still putting it together. So, this will be ready, when you fill out your thing at the end, that's, I'm gonna go through that with you. Just put in that if you're interested in the box and you wanna hear more about it, just put it in there. And we'll call you as soon as we have it all worked out. So,
It should be the end of next month, and we'll send out an email to everybody that's on our client list. As long as you didn't opt out of emails, you'll get a notification when this is available and a lot more details.
perfect. Okay, you already know me. All right, so we're at questions and answers, but before I forget, and we get into that stuff, on the clipboards in the back is this thing. So this is let us know how we can help. For Jackie, I'd like to meet with Jackie to discuss right sizing, meet with Jackie to discuss other real estate. Jason, I'd like to meet with Jason to discuss estate planning, meet with Jason to discuss special needs planning. Or me, I'd like to attend a full retirement readiness workshop, because this is just a little tiny abbreviated version of it. meet with Mark to discuss retirement income planning, or join the wait list for the beneficiary box. And then just go ahead and put all your information there. If you don't wanna do anything, please go ahead, but
No, he said he likes
I
the
like the
idea.
box.
like the box,
I do like the box,
Uh,
yeah.
fill this in, and even if you don't want any meetings, still go ahead and fill it in and just say, I don't need any, I don't need a meeting.
We're very excited.
Just so
about
we know
that.
that you were here. All right, so questions and answers. Oh, by the way, when you leave, everything is yours except the clipboards. Leave those here. I don't have to buy more clipboards. Okay. Q&A, what do you got?
I got a question.
Okay.
If you get an IRA and you have a beneficiary, does it still have to be in the living trust?
No, and you can't move an IRA, it's an individual retirement arrangement.
Yeah, so the beneficiary on an IRA, if you're married, the primary beneficiary should be the spouse.
Yeah.
If you'd like, you can add a secondary beneficiary as the trust.
But that covers that, it doesn't have to be in the trust for when you pass away?
No, the beneficiary would be the trust, if you want it that way. But I typically tell folks to make the spouse the primary.
Yeah.
And then if you just wanna hand all the money to, the kids, when you pass away, if you and your spouse pass away at the same time, you can go ahead and put the kids down as a secondary beneficiary.
Uh-huh.
But if you want it to be doled out a specific way, then you'll wanna make the trust the secondary beneficiary.
Make the trust.
Does that make sense?
And that includes anything like you're distributing it over time or,
Sure.
you know, I also like making the trust the secondary beneficiary. I have clients who occasionally wanna change what they're doing.
Uh-huh.
And if you have named people, you have to go to every single institution, every single account, change your beneficiary designations.
But is that like a legal document you have to, put together?
Well, if you just make the secondary beneficiary the trust,
Uh-huh.
You just have to
if you,
change the
you
trust.
just change the
Just
trust,
change the trust.
and then it goes however you wanted it to go. Also in the trust, if you have kids that you don't think can handle your assets, you can put in the trust that, whatever they make,
Uh-huh.
the trust will give them double. So if they make 60, they can take 120 from the trust that year. If they make 100, they can take 200 from the trust that year, wherever you wanna do it. You can make it that, if you've got a child that you're afraid, has a drug issue, you can put random drug testing, and if they test positive, they get nothing that year. And then your trustee, whoever your successor trustee is, will deal with all that.
Okay. There's options. Options to do.
Also in the trust, you can do things for you while you're alive. You go to a nursing facility and you can't speak for yourself, but your idea of dignity is, I get a massage every Sunday. Been doing it for 40 years. If I go to a nursing facility, I still want my massage every Sunday. It's in my,
Community, a nursing community.
it's in my trust.
That's
Yeah,
good.
I've got one client, I said, what's dignity to you? She said, I want my hair done every 3 weeks. Okay, we'll put it in the trust. Your trustee will make it happen.
That's good, I didn't realize you could put that kind of stuff in the
Yeah.
trust.
Yeah, you can be as specific as you wanna be,
Uh-huh.
and depending on what you need, that's what we're here for.
Yes, the trust is here for when you're alive as well as after you pass.
If you have property in more than one state, do you need separate trusts, or is that one trust?
One trust. You just need to make sure that all the properties are moved into that trust. Yeah.
What if you have a trust in that other state, but your primary residence is here?
So I'll usually, you don't have to change it initially. If you're gonna make any edits to the trust, I usually tell you to move the situs to Nevada. Additionally, Nevada has some of the most friendly trust laws in the country. Usually ranks in the top 3, if not the top 1 every single time. So I'll tell you to move the location of the trust here if you can. Go ahead.
It seems, I have the trust, and it seems, of recent, I've had to make adjustments to it.
Mhm.
Do I have to rewrite the entire trust when I do that?
I hear you. So revocable trusts are typically amendable, restatable, or revocable. It's usually written right into them. Amendable means you just create a small document, and you read through the amendment and the original. So, hey, I'm gonna rip and replace this one sentence, this one section, this one article of the trust and rewrite it this way. Not a problem. We make the amendment and you still keep the original. A restatement, and I usually tell people after about the 3rd amendment, trying to read through multiple documents, you're gonna drive yourself crazy. Or if you're gonna make a big change, you should rip and replace the whole thing. That's a restatement. revocations are usually only done, are rarely done, you know, divorce, something to that effect, some reason why you'd wanna dissolve the trust.
Okay.
What are pros and cons of gifting your property?
So, while I'm not a tax professional, I usually don't like gifting during your lifetime, especially of assets that appreciate. The short answer is that upon someone's death, the beneficiaries inherit the basis at the time of death. So let's say you have a home, and you bought the home for $100,000, and the home's worth $500,000 today. If you gift it during your lifetime, the person who you gifted it to has a basis of $100,000, and if they sell it, they're gonna have $400,000 of profit that they had to pay in taxes. If you die today, they're going to inherit the house with a basis of $500,000, and if they sold it today, they would have zero profit and zero taxes. So I don't recommend gifting during your lifetime for those types of assets.
So what that's called is a step up in cost basis.
Yep.
So they don't have your cost basis, they have the cost basis of whatever it is when you passed away.
If you have a taxable estate, there are a number of things we can do to attempt to avoid taxes on the estate. Currently, it's 12.6, I know, we're in 2025, 12.9 million per person before you hit a taxable estate. So,
And because of the last election, it should stay that way.
agreed, yes, or go up.
Yeah. Which is a good thing. Yes.
Is your IRA subject for litigation? If there's like somebody will
As
sue?
far as I know, you cannot be sued for the contents of your IRA. Is that correct?
Usually it's creditor protected, yeah. Well, ERISA plans are, IRA is or is not, the 401ks were.
You thought you could be sued for your 401k?
No, not for the 401k. ERISA protections keep it safe.
Yeah, well, they're both qualified funds.
Then you
so
go.
So TSP is an IRA in like definition?
Your pension?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's typically not an IRA, it's a pension. Or it's a 403B or a 401k.
Somewhat like that
Yeah.
for 401k.
So
you know.
what we would typically do with those is part of the problem, what I don't like about them is whoever designed it, you have maybe a dozen or so different investment options within it, and the fees are usually quite high internally. You never see them unless you actually read that prospectus that they send you every year that you just throw away and don't look at, right? So what we'll do typically is move it from whatever it's in now, 403B, 401k, whatever it is, pension, you roll it into your own IRA, still creditor protected, but now instead of having the dozen different options that they gave you, now you have every option there is on the planet almost. We're a fiduciary, that's why we have every option. And we actively manage the portfolio instead of where it is now, where it's set it and forget it, and you hope you do well. Right? Other questions?
Other follow-up question. Is it smart to move it to your trust, to your IRA?
Well, if it's a pension, you don't want to move it to the IRA, but you can make the beneficiary the trust.
Okay, about your TSP. Like it's the bulk of your
But
IRA.
ESP is just the name of the company, so is it a 403B or a pension?
I really didn't look into that, but you are contributing every month. That
Right.
is that is pre-tax.
Yeah.
So
if it's
that
pre-
would
if it's
be an
pre-tax-
IRA.
Yeah, if it's pre-tax, it's either a 403B or 401k, depending on who you work for. But yeah, we roll those into your own IRA.
And then going to your trust, or
And
just
then-
leave it
well,
like that.
No, the IRA can't go in the trust, but the beneficiary of the IRA can be the trust.
Same as this answer.
Yeah.
You had a question?
Just real quick, does it make sense to put a vehicle into the trust?
So the short answer is that if you have $25,000 or more in equity in your name at the time of death, you're going through probate. So it depends on the vehicle, really. If you have lots of equity in your vehicles, then it definitely might make sense. If you don't, you don't have, and you move the rest of your assets into the trust like you should, doesn't matter.
Unless you're trying to hide the money in your trust and you've named the trust something that has nothing to do with your name, but the trust owns the vehicle, it's gonna be on title, and then it's gonna be easier for whoever's attacking you to find your money.
Lots of what ifs there. I usually tell people, if they've got equity, significant equity in the vehicles, they should move it, just so they don't have to worry about
Title
it.
of the name of the trust.
But yeah, that's $25,000 worth of equity. If you buy expensive cars and have high loans and they depreciate and the loan pays down simultaneously, you never have equity, you don't have enough equity in the vehicle to make it matter. Yes,
You could put precious metals into your trust.
anything with a title you can, and we put all personal property in there as
You
well.
get title.
Title, anything like a bank account, a vehicle, a house, if you've got title to it, are you owning it outright, you've got physical precious metals, and all personal property, which that would be qualified as, can be moved into the trust.
Does it go in the trust or go to the 401 to go to?
So, we usually do an assignment of all personal property, and which means that all personal property is being moved into the trust immediately, which would qualify if you're taking new personal property and you wanna make sure, we can always re-execute an assignment of personal property.
And do you recommend an itemized list that goes with the trust?
The more itemized it is, the less questions there are, and it really depends on how much detail you wanna go through.
And that would go in your new box.
Exactly. But the goal is to eliminate questions or concerns from anybody who's going to go through it. One of the other questions I quite often get is, should I have that conversation with anybody of my documents? Yeah, it really all depends. So, but, if you can communicate what you want during your lifetime, the people are gonna be there and listen. At least the successor trustee, can be helpful. If you've got lots of changes, of course, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't, but it's always good to have those communications if you have an open line.
Every time Jackie and I get on a plane to go somewhere together, I remind my kids where the trust is. And the life insurance policies and everything else.
At least letting people know where the documents are. I mean, I had a phone call not too long ago. One of my longtime clients passed, and her son called me, and he called up and he said, "My mom said, if something happens, I call Jason." And I knew, 90+% of the information, was able to walk him through all the steps. So it's really important to have somebody there. Otherwise, people are flailing, like you and your brother, trying to figure out where everything is, what the goal was, and making sure that everybody knows how it's supposed to play out.
Yeah, we did our first trust in 1992 when Adam was born. And then when we moved here, we changed it to a Nevada trust. That was 24 years ago.
And now we gotta do a new one.
Now they're adults and out, and so now we're gonna.
Now Jason
It
will
was
be
a different
doing
attorney
our-
because I didn't know Jason yet, and now Jason's gonna redo the whole thing.
And then my kids will be calling Jason.
And I'm gonna tell everybody here, you should be taking out your estate plan at least once every 3 years and looking at it. One of three things has changed at least that often. People change. Births, deaths, friends come and go, whatever that might be. Assets change. Windfalls, expenditures, you buy new property, you sell property, whatever that may look like, you win the lottery. Laws change. I'm only gonna point the estate cap that we had in 2017, I think it was. It doubled from 6 million, it was 5 million then to 11 million, and it continues to be inflation adjusted, which is why we're at 12.9 now. But last year before the election, we were talking about it possibly falling in half. And there were proposals on the table to reduce it to 3.5 or $1 million instead of.
There's a proposal to reduce it to 0. You can't pass anything without estate taxes. They wanted 50% of everything that was passing. Thank God that didn't happen.
The Secure Act requires you to, distribute an IRA within 10 years, except in certain specific circumstances. I use myself as an example. I can distribute my IRA to my disabled daughter, and she can distribute it over the course of her lifetime. where if I had given it to my other daughter, she would have had only 10 years to distribute the money. And so whatever those changes are, pick up a phone, call, your financial advisor, call your estate planning attorney, call your accountant, have those conversations so that, you can make adjustments as appropriate.
Also, I don't think Jason said, but he's actually an elder law attorney.
Yeah.
There are very, very, very few elder law attorneys in the city of 3 million people. When I first moved here 24 years ago, one of the first things I did, because I've been doing this for 38 years, one of the first things I did was, okay, I gotta find an elder law attorney for my clients. There were like 6 in the whole state, in the whole Clark County. I don't know how many there are now,
There
but
aren't
it's
many
not
more.
much better. So,
Yeah, I'm one of the officers of the elder law section of the bar, and there's 20 members statewide.
wow,
So,
statewide.
yeah, and that really comes down to Medicaid planning, long-term care planning, making sure that we're protecting assets as necessary, especially if there's risks. Expanding certain authorities, making sure documents are even more detailed if there's a potential long-term disability. I deal with a lot of folks who have early onset dementia, and so we can get things in place until you've lost capacity. And once the doctor says you've lost capacity, I've lost the ability to do planning for you.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, if you don't have a family member or a trusted friend to act as the trustee, the other option is a professional trustee. What are the pros and cons of going that route?
Cost.
That's probably the biggest one. I mean, let's be clear. A professional trustee is going to follow the document to the letter and is going to charge you for their actions. And so you're increasing.
Or just charge you for the assets under management.
And yeah, exactly. So there's a percentage of assets under management. Different trust companies, different values. And the larger the assets under management, the smaller the percentage. But they get paid more. My biggest concern about those types of situations, a lot of times people's biggest asset is their home, and they don't have enough other liquid assets to maintain the home. And so a lot of the professional trust companies can't get their fees paid in those types of situations. Exactly. And so that forces the sale of the home. So that's one of the big downsides. They're available, they're good at what they do. But if possible, I try to avoid them. If you have somebody you can rely on and trust.
So we used one of our best friends who's actually a financial guy. Known him for 30 some odd years. 7.
Oh, yeah.
So we're co-trustees. One of us passes, the other one is the successor trustee. If that person passes, then our friend Stefan becomes the successor trustee. If he doesn't want to do it, can't do it, he's dead, whatever, then it's gonna go to Wells Fargo Trust Office. Because, I got nobody else.
And just because we were talking about successors, and I was talking about how often you should review the documents, it is important. I ended up with a client who had a power of attorney executed. Spouse had passed, the next person no longer had capacity, and the last person didn't even know that they were nominated and refused to serve, and so we went to guardianship. And
That's
so,
why I can't or doesn't want to.
yeah, exactly. And so, making sure you're having these conversations is important, especially if they're not family members. The friendships over time, sometimes aren't what they used to be.
Yeah, that particular person when we moved here wasn't the trustee, we changed it. And there was another person that's in the trust that's going to be guardian of our children. Well, our children are 28 and 33. We don't need that person anymore.
They don't need a babysitter anymore, you sure? No.
All right, any other questions? Yes, sir.
What if your power of attorney and financial power of attorney of an individual that is in hospice, and they have expressed to you that they don't have any relatives or friends, they want you to have what's remaining in their accounts. can you transfer some of the money over into, assuming you're banking at the same bank, can you transfer it over to, one of your accounts and avoid probate?
So you're saying gift it while they're still alive?
Right.
Do they have capacity to be able to do that?
What?
All right, are their brains functioning?
Not really.
Okay, so let me just step back. If you are a financial power of attorney, you have a fiduciary responsibility to manage their money for their best interest.
Yes.
If you move the money away from them, it is not in their best interest. Now, and so that would be, of course, the problem. And if they don't have capacity, they cannot tell you that they want you to have the money. They don't have the capacity to make that decision. So if they wanted to make that decision and they had capacity, that's fine. If they if they have capacity and they want to draft a trust like that or a will like that, that's fine. But typically, depending on the relationship, especially caregiver relationships, we need to have an independent review from another attorney if that's what they wanted to do. I would not take that action if they no longer have capacity. That may come back and bite you, let me say it that way.
Especially if there's other relatives that come out of the woodwork.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, there could be relatives that come out of the woodwork he forgot about, because if it goes through probate, it's public, it's in the paper.
And while we're talking about family, that's only one potential pitfall. Government's the other side. So Medicaid, Medicare, depending on the location, you have all the nurses who can make an APS report. You just don't want to be stuck in that. I deal with those all the time.
I'm paying his bills right now, so I know all of his, what's going on.
Yep. So just throwing it out there. I've had a number of cases where, strange family members come out of the woodwork and suddenly now you're having a fight in court during their lifetimes.
So be careful.
Uh-huh.
Anybody else? Alrighty, well, we will hang out a little bit. You guys go ahead and fill these out for me. If you want any of these, they're up here, just come get them. And Jackie's got her declutter person. That stuff that she can give you if you want it. And there you go. Anything else?
Oh, thank you guys for coming out.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you, sir.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Please. Need them. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
It's an interesting world out here.
Yeah.
Oh, so, like, what's
I had one question too.
The answer is Swiss cheese.
I can't say.
So is it a discount maybe if it's a monthly thing, or is it
You like this?
Yes.
You like this?
It's cleaner. I mean, it doesn't feel cleaner because it's on your side. But it makes it so you don't accidentally use your video.
I think the work
Because I'm not gonna use the federal government.
Yeah, it's not taking any cash out yet. But I don't. It's still something.
I was trying to do that.
Yeah, I've had people tell me that you're completely altered my language.
I'm glad you put down.
Illinois and Wisconsin, putting my property
I don't want
management
to give you some real general warnings. Only because I've been there and done that. Not backwards. Right. And I don't want you to get trouble.
Did you check on the thing?
Yeah. Yes.
You'll find out.
What's the
cost of the trust for
Yeah,
two
we'll start
homes.
sending stuff out.
I have two homes and everything else is
They
IRA.
don't go anywhere.
Oh, no, I'm not. I
But me and my
just got back from
So,
there.
usually
Yeah.
around 3,000, and then we usually go 300 per hour.
We have all the information for
So,
everybody that's
so,
posted, so
yeah,
whatever he wants to hear about, feel free to give it to him, but
Right.
this isn't our last workshop, we'll be doing more.
No, I just two homes and everything else I IRA. So I got
We're gonna do
beneficiaries
once
and
more.
everything else, so it's all fairly
Our next
simple.
one, next month is
Yeah,
gonna be
usually,
Spontaneous.
some of the things that usually cause increases in costs
Nursing
are
facility.
families,
No complex, no.
complex familial
Very simple,
relationships.
very
yeah,
simple.
so,
Husband, wife, and three kids.
Yeah, we're in that neighborhood.
Right, okay.
Thank you. Give us a call and,
All right,
or
yeah.
if you flag this, we'll give you a call.
Yeah, I'll go.
You know where Costco
That's
is?
side business. My mother.
Right up there.
But she's still alive. We need the money to pay for the nursing. She's still in the house now.
No, no, St. Louis Parkway.
Yeah, well,
In,
the money's as long as she lives, you know.
No,
that's- Yeah.
And some sales capacity, we
No, she's dementia, so she's.
West Charleston.
Oh, he's dead.
Charleston,
All right, thank you.
I don't know what the name of it. West Charleston.
Thank you for coming.
First down.
As you're walking out, it's the last door on your left.
We have
First,
this
anyone?
set up, we're gonna give you a call. and
I'm just trying to get back to my stuff.
Oh, I thought you were leaving without your purse.
No.
It's from out of state, and we're doing any amendments, we do
All right,
into that.
sounds good.
Anything to that.
Yeah, we basically, yeah, never mind.
So I have
But we
like,
have a few questions for you, so
4
we'll set some
lots
up.
in
Please,
Florida.
okay, looking forward to it.
Listen,
Yeah,
I-
take care.
Nice
Nice
to
to
meet
meet
you.
you. Thank you so much.
Nice meeting you.
Jody.
Thank you for all the information. Citrus Heights, too?
Yes.
You know where the golf is? On the west side
Yeah.
of Florida?
I grew up in City.
Oh, yeah.
And we saw the condos.
B87.
So
Yeah,
it was,
yeah, I
I
can
don't,
see
I
it.
never heard of
Have
City.
you ever heard of Citrus
Yeah.
Heights? What was some other ones?
What city?
Hospitals the last couple
What
of
city?
months there.
It is it.
Back and
The
forth
name
on
of the city is?
hospitals.
Yeah.
What bigger
Or
city is it?
county?
Dad's going.
It's a county, maybe? It's
What-
a,
What
it's
city
like,
is it near?
Yeah.
Is it closer to Tampa or closer to the Panhandle?
it's in the middle.
It's
It's in the middle on the west
Yeah,
side.
she can't have
Yeah,
them.
well, St. Pete's right in the middle. Tampa?
Yeah.
We've got the same thing.
Where's the relation to Tampa?
Yeah.
Now, this is in the Gulf area, on the west side.
Tampa's on the west side.
You know people,
Sure.
I'm not that,
I'm not sure.
that's what I'm here for.
Jackie,
Thanks. Have a
you
great
ever
day.
hear of Citrus
Right,
Heights?
See you later. You bet. Yes.
Gulf Coast in Florida? She
Citrus.
said that's the name of the city.
Well, I thought it was a city, maybe it's a county,
Um,
cause I have, some
Citrus
lots.
County.
Yeah, oh, see?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you said Citrus Heights. I've
Well,
never heard of Citrus
Citrus
Heights.
Okay,
County,
maybe
yeah.
that's what it was.
Yeah, we're in Florida, that's what, I'm going back home in 2 weeks because
Oh, you're from that area?
we're from,
Good.
we're
All
from
good?
I don't know
Pinellas
where
County,
Instagram
which is
is.
Tampa Bay, the Tampa Bay area, St. Petersburg.
Middle of the West Coast.
See, I didn't wanna build on there because look at all of the,
It's a mess.
all
It's
the
a mess.
hurricanes and stuff, so you got land and it's just, what's gonna happen to it?
Well, no, if you go inland, your land will be okay, but, you know, you just gotta go inland, stay away from the water. If you go
Do you have
inland,
more
you
than
should be
summer?
okay. I mean, you still need to have
I don't know.
insurance, cause
No one
you get,
handed
you
any to
know,
me.
you got trees around you, that kind of thing, but
Yeah.
like my mom and dad, they live in the Daytona Beach area off the water. They live about 5 miles from the beach on the mainland side. They had no water issues.
Oh, that's nice.
Trees is another story, but
Yeah.
you can cut trees away.
Yeah, and this is like all wooded area too, where this place is at.
Are you moving to Florida?
No,
I don't blame you, not
no,
right now.
Not
Not right now, now's not a great time.
It's like, the only people are making money is like Home Depot and those places, you know, in the end, you keep on
You're right.
fixing everything.
Let me tell you,
I
we were
would
just there.
never-
There's
That's like a
motor,
yearly thing.
motor homes in every driveway right now because where we're from in St. Pete, because everyone's homes flooded out. Which never happened before. We grew up in
You want me
Florida.
to
we've been there.
make
Never
copies of the
have
ones that
any of
have
us
a
in
check
over
mark box
100
next to you?
years have they seen
Sure,
anything
or.
like that.
And now that
considering
insurance
that's,
won't cover
listed,
what's
on
going on
Mondays,
there.
We do that.
Which would be fine.
I know.
They're gonna do the same thing for Southern California.
Take to the
They're
dumpster.
over the wildfire. And they, sorry, but they
Well, do you have
produce
some
them.
trash here you
I
want?
believe that.
Yeah.
You think?
Fine.
Yeah, the
With
thing-
the
We're on
lasers,
St.
Alright, I'll be right back.
with the lasers and then there's proof of that.
Oh, I don't know
The
about,
blue,
I don't know anything about that, but it's the fact that.
You're gonna
they
edit
did
off the